cover the features and benefits of Leica Captivate software. My name is Brad Beeler, and I work for MTS in our Wappingers Falls, New York office. I'll be joined by Pierre Dubois, who is the Director of Technical Support at Leica Geosystems. Leica Captivate software is developed by Leica to support all the hardware innovations Leica has introduced into their TPS and GNSS products, such as AutoHeight, auto pole, tilt compensation, imaging, AI, and laser scanning. Tonight's web session and all future sessions will be recorded and made available for future reference. Tonight's session is entitled the Setup Application, and it will cover the various methods used to orient your instrument to the job site. Most of these methods are well known, but a couple may be new to you. We'll also mention two helpful and unique features called Work Area and Power Search Filter that can be helpful for the instrument to find you quickly on a job site that might be full of other reflective targets. So let's get started with session number 2, the Setup Application. Please feel free to type questions if you have them into the chat, and we'll try to answer them. If we can't get to your question tonight, then we'll certainly get back to you with a response. So without further ado, I'll introduce Pierre, and we can go over the setup application together.
Thank you, Brad. Let me just share my screen. So good evening, everyone. My name is Pierre Labbe, and I'm the Technical Support Manager at Leica Geosystems. I'm also part of the trainer team. And I'm here this evening to go over the Captivate Set-up Application. So I'm currently set up into a room in my office in Montreal, Canada. I got Prism around, so I'll do my best to make it as easy to follow as possible. So what you see right now on the screen, I got my Captivate, and first thing I want to mention, it's before going into my job creation and doing my initial setup, if you look at my Captivate application carousel, I install a couple of additional setup applications that are available to be downloaded and installed from Leica MyWord. So the regular setup that I'll start with, it's the one that comes by default within Leica Captivate, and there's multiple setup methods within the setup app. But here we have a set orientation, standalone application, and auto setup, standalone setup application, and a quick setup. So those, like I said, can be easily downloaded and installed, and you can find them just on a side note. If you go on MyWord and you go into the download section within MyWord, and you find your instrument, if it's a CS20, if you work within a CS20, or on a TS16 directly, MS60. So I'll take the example of a most popular controller, the CS20. So if you go and look for a CS20, you'll find the software and firmware and manual for the CS20 itself, but all of our instruments, most of them also have some local software. And under local software, you'll see those local applications that are not part of the global Leica Captivate firmware. And when you scroll, there's a huge list of them. We might in future webinar cover a couple of them, but quick setup is right there, can be easily downloadable. If I go down the list, got the, like you can see, there's a big list. I got the set orientation that I install, And further down the list, I got the auto setup here that I downloaded and installed. So this is just like a side note where to find those additional setup application. And I'll do a quick demonstration on all of them. Some of them are pretty basic, but I'll go over those local setup application during the webinar. So let's go back here, setup. And before going in setup, just like to kind of give you an idea, I got a control job set up in Captivate. And if I go to my 3D viewer, that's where I'm currently set up in a room with control point. I'm surrounded with control point and prism. And if I'm within my map view, if I go to my settings and my display settings, I can, if I'm working with state plane, I can go to the background image. And if you have Captivate 9 or higher, you can use a web services if you're connected to the internet, and I'm currently connected, and you can see yourself live on the feed, so you can see where I'm currently. So I'm in a room in this building. So just kind of a side note of some features within Captivate. The web services here, the live web services was introduced a while ago, but it's more easy to access in Captivate 9. So this is my control job right there with all my control point to do the different setup methods. So I'll make a brand new job right now called October 15, 2025 field. There you go. Coordinate system, yeah, I'll work with state plane. Link job. On previous webinar, we talked about job management. Link job here, I'm going to just to explain how job can be used. If you have a control job, you could add it as a link job to your working job. So all the points within the link job will be available when you'll want to do your setup. So you won't have to import or manually create point in your working job. So, and then I'll move to the last page, scale. Do you want or not to use a scale factor? Many of you might not want to use a scale factor, but if you want to use a scale factor with your total station setup, there's multiple methods available. The current setup will calculate the proper scale factor based on the coordinate of your setup. Brad, please, can you check? I hear some background noise. Someone is not muted, please. So again, if you don't want to use any scale factor in the field, uncheck the box. But if you want to use one, it's the last page under new job. I'll leave it that way. Current setup, it will calculate it automatically based on the coordinate of my instrument station. I'll store my job. So I got my new job right there. I can lock it in place, kind of a tips that I showed on the last webinar, so it won't move from there. And I'll do my setup. So I'll go under my regular setup. I'll end the webinar with those 3 local ones, but I want to start focusing on the regular setup application and the different setup method. The one I will go over during this session are the set orientation, the non-backsight, multiple backsight. I'll do the transfer height, and I'll do a resection. I won't go over the I can briefly talk about oriented to line and oriented to object, but I'll focus on the one on top. The most popular one, of course, it's the set orientation and the non-backsight. But many times we get questions from customer, how do you transfer height from a benchmark to be used on your setup? So the transfer height is part of the setup method. So again, if I keep it simple and I just do a simple set orientation to start with, but before I do anything with those setup method, we are within an application within Captivate. And like you should be all aware, in all of our application, if you press the function key on your keyboard, you'll access the settings of the application you're currently in. So if you want to review the TS setup application settings, once you're in, like you can do it from multiple pages within, but right at the first page, once you're in function settings, then you'll access the TS setup settings. There's a few of them that I want to highlight. Under the general page, the use two faces measurement. Again, it's many of you, in the field, when they do their setup, they like to do a two-phase measurement during their setup. So here, if you change that settings to do the two-phase, to use a two-phase measurement, it will do two phases automatically within the setup application. And if it's not checked, it will just do a single phase one observation. Just for the webinar here, I'll just use one phase just to make it quicker to take my observation. But in reality, I like to have that setup checked right there. Show confirmation message, it's checked by default. This is one right there that many of you sometimes contact us and ask us, can you turn off the warning screen? If you have a TS16I imaging or an MS60 imaging also, total station or multi-station, once your setup is completed, you get a warning if you want to take a panoramic image. And many times you might not want to take a panoramic image, and we get question or calls, can we turn off that image, that warning? And here, the confirmation message, if we uncheck that box right there, you won't get that warning anymore. You won't get the warning that your setup has been completed also successfully, but you won't get that warning about panoramic image. So this is the settings that you can turn off, those confirmation warning at the end of the setup, including the panoramic image. Add target point to the power source filter. It's checked by default. If you use the power source filter within Captivate, and I'll do a demonstration of it. Here, having that box checked, if you have prism on tripod, that will remain in their location as you do your work in the field. Those prism will be part of the power source filter. And if they are part of the power source filter and you do a power source right or left, the instrument will never stop to those prism. So that's a nice feature here. And for your setup point, that box is checked automatically, and I would leave it checked. So here, those settings here, regularly we get customer calling, to change one of them. So non-backsight, you can set some position limit in 2D and in 1D. So those are checked by default. You can change them based on some requirement you may want to meet. So I won't change anything in this case. You got some advanced functionality, automatically turn TS to the next target point. This could be useful if you're doing resection. As soon as you will have measure 2 point to calculate your resection, the instrument will know where it is and will automatically turn to additional target. So if you have that check box, if you don't have that one check box, the instrument will remain at your second point for your resection, and you'll have to turn manually or do a power source. But this box the instrument will turn automatically after 2 point when doing resection. The settings for the on the fly here, it's to do a resection, but you're not completing your resection. You're doing some work and you complete the resection later. So if that's what you want to do, you need to check that box. If you want to do a resection, but you want to use a different calculation method, an Elmert method, you can check that box. And then if you want to set some orientation limit, you can change those based on your requirement. And finally, if you do a resection and you want to see your angle right, there's a box to check to set your angle right to the first resection point that you will measure. And orient to object, there's some limit, point, position, height, rotation. We won't do anything with that one. And then report, if you want to create a report of your setup, you can check that box, and the report can be generated as you do your setup. Most of you, again, we store anything anyway within the within your DBX job, so we can generate report at any time anyway. So we rarely have a customer using that report sheet. So that was just an overview of those different settings for the TES setup application. Setup method, I'll go to the set orientation. I might not complete it completely because it's pretty basic, but if you go into any of those applications anyway, after you choose the setup method, here, where you want to pick your setup point, the default method, it's from the job you're in, your working job. And you see the name of your working job. That's the default method. But like if you are using the link job, there will be an additional option. When you work with link job, it creates a data set within Infinity. So as soon as you have link job to your working job, data set become available. It's not there if you don't have any link job. So here in my case, since I have my control job, it's linked to my working job. If I pick data set, here I can pick all the points from my job right there that says 1015 controls. I see all those points. They are all available right there. And I can pick any one of them and do my setup. So that's using data set. So it can be a job. I could pick job and I can simply go to my control job right away. That's another way. You pick you want to do your setup. The point from your setup are in a job, but they are not in your working job. They are into a control job. That will do the same as linking your job. And here I got all the point within control that I can use to do my setup. So that's something, again, on support, we get question about that on a regular basis. This is quite important. It always default to job and it always default to your working job, but you don't always have to import point within your working job. You might already have a control job on your controller. You may want to use point from yesterday job. Here, you have the flexibility to pick the job where you want to pick your point from for your setup from. Okay. So in my case, I want to set on point 100. I can put 100 right there, and then I can pick my instrument height. Instrument height. If you have a recent instrument, as soon as you highlight instrument height, you got measure height. So if I press measure height and press measure, it measures the height of my instrument. If I press OK, it updated automatically. This is a really nice feature now on your instrument, the automatically measure height of the instrument. So as far as doing my set orientation, I selected the job where I want to take my setup point. I'm on 100, my instrument height. I just measure my instrument height. I see right there, since I have my scale factor selected, I want to use it. It calculated the scale factor of my setup point. That will be used automatically with my setup. Just by the way, if you are using or not scale factor in the field in our office software Infinity, it's really easy to modify and update all of your total station observation to update the scale factor, update the atmospheric ppm. factor, it's pretty easy in the Office software to change those. And so using the set orientation, if I press OK, the last thing is to give a point number. Since set orientation, I know where I am, but I want to set my orientation in a direction. I can just give it any point ID. How do I want to call that point? My target height. My direction is 0 by default. I can manually enter anything I would like to use. I can do a distance, and I can do set, and I'll be done. So in this case, let's check on the camera. If I'm aiming at a prism right now, just give me, okay, I can see the prism. Someone just move. So if I click on the prism, I have an MS-60, so I can use the camera. That could be quite useful. So taking a distance on the prism. So I got my distance, that's the height, and then I have nothing else to do. I can press set, and I'm set up, and again, that's the warning I mentioned to you earlier that can be turned off if you don't want to see it all the time. So I say, no, I don't want to take a panoramic image. Back to the main menu. That was the set orientation. I'll go back to setup quickly. I'll do a non-backsight. That one, again, it's a basic one. Again, I explained a lot of those fields, so those should go quicker this way. The non-backsight, I want to take my point from the control. I want to set up on point 100 again. My height, I can measure my height. So that first page, it's the same for set orientation or non-backsight. Now, since it's a non-backsight, now I need to pick my backsight, and my backsight would be 0.20 in my case. It's a circular prism, 5 feet. If I take a distance, I should set C delta. So since it's a non-backsight, you want to press the distance to view distance. You could press set to set without pressing the distance, but if you're not aiming at the proper prism, you might get some error in your setup. So it's like, for me, it's like it should be mandatory. Take a distance first. Check your horizontal distance, difference in horizontal distance and in height. Those should be pretty small value within some tolerance. Once I'm good with it, here it looks pretty good, then I'll do my set. So yeah, I don't want to take a panoramic image. So I'm currently set up using non-backsight, and let's say I have a benchmark. So in my case, I'm set up on 100, and I have 0.22. It's a benchmark. If I click on 22 and I just look at it, and I go to is it the point? That's a control point, and that's my benchmark, 122.000. So that's the elevation I would like to use. So I would like to update my setup elevation to match my benchmark. So currently, if I go to stake point and I go to stake point 22, and I'll do a tools, and I'll turn that point, I'll turn to it. So, and then I'll go to the camera. I might have to go a little bit lower. There's about half of a foot difference, but I'm pretty close to it. So I just need to aim properly. I'll take a distance. So we'll see that with my current setup, I'm currently off by about half of a foot in height. So, and I want to use the height, that's my benchmark. So now I want to update my instrument setup height. So I'll escape to the main menu. I'll go to the setup app. I'll do a transfer height. And I'm still on 100, still same instrument height. My control point, it's going to come from that control job or data set, you know, like I said earlier. So, and I'm on 100, but that did not change. And then I want to measure point 22. And it has a height of 122.00. And then I'll take a distance on it. So, and I can see my half-foot difference in height right there from what I'm measuring compared to the actual elevation. So I can store and calculate. So, because you could have measured multiple benchmark to get an average delta height. So I had the option to do the target 1, target 2, target 3. After that first one, that's my only benchmark. So I press calculate, and now I can look at my result. I can see my height difference here and my height quality, and I want to use the new height. I got the old height for my point 100, and that's going to be my new height. And at this point, and yes, I want to use it. So I can press set. And no, I don't want panoramic image. And if I quickly go now to stake point, I'll stake that point 22 again. Should be on it. I'll press distance. So now I'm matching my benchmark, so I can start doing my work. So I'll escape to the main menu, but that's one way. You can use any setup method if you want to adjust the elevation of your setup using benchmark. The tool, the setup transfer height, it's the tool that allows you to update that elevation easily, measuring one or more known elevation. Multiple backsight, again, I won't go to that one because what it is, it's the same as known backsight, except you can measure multiple known backsight. And what you could do also with this one, you can do a height transfer at the same time. So in the scenario I just did, I could have used this method to shoot my point 20 for my orientation, turn to my point 22 backsight, took a shot on it, and when I will calculate, I will tell my software to use 22 for elevation only, and my first point in position only. So you would do your height transfer within the multiple backsight method. And then the resection method. The resection method, again, it's allowing you to set up your instrument anywhere and shoot some target to calculate the position of your instrument. Again, I'll show you a quick method to do it. But the resection method, if you press OK, you'll be prompted to enter your instrument. It will create the coordinate of that setup point. So it will be 101 in my case. You can put whatever you want. I got my instrument height, and then where do I want to pick my target point? And again, I can pick either go right in my control job again, and then I'll be prompted to measure my first target. So I'll have to select my first point, and I'm going to do it quickly. So I'll go to 100, and I'm going to do a quick power search right. So that's my point 20. I'll take a distance on it. I'll do it with 2 points to make it quick in here. So I'm good. I'll store that first target 1, and then it says target 2. So I'm just going to do another power search. And I should be on point 23. If I go to the camera, since I'm not behind the instrument right now, I just want to look at the camera view. I'm aiming at it. I can take a distance. Then I can store. And now it's turning automatically to another point because I have that settings to turn automatically. It knows after 2 points, it knows where it is. So I'll stop it here with 2 points. I'll just hit calculate. I could measure target 3, target 4, and pick them one at a time. I can press calculate. And now I got my result. Station 101, my instrument height. I can look at quality, standard deviation, or pretty small. Target, if I want to use some in 2D, in 1D, or 3D. So you can, if you have multiple points, you can change how you want to use them to calculate your resection result. And if you're good with it, I'll press set. And I'm back to the main menu. So again, not much more. You might have learned a few tips and tricks about those different setup methods. I think the settings, we saw that under the general, there's some, if you don't want to see that confirmation message all the time, you can uncheck that box. You won't see it anymore. And so that gives a quick overview of those setup methods. Now I want to move to those 3 other methods. Should be pretty quick. Those are pretty basic. Set orientation. If you pick set orientation, what your prompt, it's, you know, you want to set up quickly, you want to orient your instrument, let's say a 0 in one direction or any other direction. If I want my azimuth to be 0 or whatever you want, and you just hit set. I forgot, I've done it pretty quick, but I'm not aiming anywhere right now. So here we go. So it find a prism, and now I got my 0. If I go to my measure app, I might see. So I got my 0 set up in one direction. So this set 0 is pretty basic to start and set a 0 really quick without having to enter a coordinate. You just set your 0. Quick setup. It's asking you where you want to take the point. Select the job before you set up the instrument. I want to be in my field. And what it does, so I want to work in my field. It's not asking you here to enter any coordinate. You want your starting point to be 200. You got your instrument height, and you want your backsight point to be 201. And the target height, I'll do a power search to find a prism. But you simply key in the instrument point, the backsight point, instrument height, backsight height. You can set the direction that you want to set to your backsight point. And once you're done, you press your distance. So it doesn't require any coordinate. It's a quick way to do a setup, and it's going to use the last use coordinate for 200. So I'm ready. Quick setup. I'm in topo right now. I'm ready to do my my topo. So if I go and look at I think was it 101 or 200. It's it. So we got. Oh no, it was 200. So we can see coordinate that it used by default 1000, 1000, 1000. So it's in the background. We need coordinate in the background, but to do the setup, we're not required to enter any coordinate. It's just a quick setup. It asks us for the point ID for the instrument, point ID for the backsight, and then we start doing topo with it. So that's why it's called quick setup. Here, auto setup, automatic setup. That's the last one I'll go through. Auto setup, it's a resection. So this app will allow you to do a resection, but automatically, so you don't have to tell Captivate which point you're aiming. It will spin around, it will measure the target that it will find, and automatically find the matching point to calculate the resection. So let's say I want to set up it will create point 300. That will be my setup point. I got my instrument height and my design data. It's going to be that control job. And then it's like a resection. Here, target measurement is required. So I want to detect prism automatically using power search. So if you pick the second one, detect prism automatically using power search multiband. Multiband means the instrument will turn 3 times, up, middle, and down, to make sure that it finds all of the possible prism to do your resection. Or you want to do it manually. But I'll do it automatically here using power search, and I should be good here to do it with 1 row only. So it's going to search for that first prism. It doesn't ask me for the point ID. If I go to 3D view, you'll see that it's looking at a prism right now. I don't need to tell the instrument which point number it is. We're using the auto setup, and it's to calculate a resection automatically. So I'm on a prism. So the only thing it's asking me, prism type, height, and I want to survey all my points. They all have the same prism type and height. So I can take a distance on my first prism, store that one, and now the instrument is spinning and it's searching for another prism. As soon as it finds another prism, it will stop to it. And again, it's measuring it automatically without having me do anything. And then it's going to turn around and try to find another prism. And after 3 prism, 3 target, it's going to try to go, and now it find a 4th one. And it's turning around and it's going back, and now I can review my result. So there was 4 target, find all of them, and here I got the position of my instrument, and it's going to give me a new height for my setup. I can go to target, and I can see that it's using 21, 23, and 20. In my case here, my point 22, I changed the elevation by half of a foot to use it as a benchmark, but by changing it by half of a foot, it doesn't fit as well with my other point. So the instrument measured it, it was not fitting as well with the other, so it ignored that point 22 automatically and only keep like 3 points that fit pretty well together. So it find those. I never told the instrument to choose those point number. The automatic setup find those points, looking at your job and the point that match based on the distance and then the angular value that you measure. So now my setup has been calculated. I can set my setup, and yeah, I'm good with it. Back to the main menu. So that's the auto setup. It's allowing you to do a resection without having to manually select your point, your target point prior to the setup. The instrument will find the appropriate point by itself based on the observation. So I'm set up. So the last thing we wanted to cover in this webinar, once you're set up, it's the power search. So if I click on the power search filter, it's right there. One thing about the power search filter, you can turn it off or on. It's currently on. And filter learn, it's to learn the environment. So if you do a filter learn, the instrument is going to spin 3 times and detect all of the target. And like you saw in my setup settings, the target prism used within the setup are already part of it. So I'm running it anywhere right now, but in theory, I should not, because it knows, at least in my last setup, it knows 3 prism out of 4. But here, I'm almost done. We should get a confirmation of how many targets were found. And after that point, it found 3 targets. I can press OK. From that moment on, every time I'll do a power search, the instrument will never stop to any one of those targets. So that could be something useful. If you're in the middle of the wood and there's nothing else around, it should not be a big deal. But on construction site, you might have like other prism. You can have like the sun that is going to reflect into some windows that could look like a prism. The instrument will remember all of those that could be recognized as a target and will never stop at those locations. So you do your setup first, and then you run that power search filter, and that should help to make the instrument find your prism quicker. Talking about power search, most of you might know power search like a 360 spin around itself. The instrument, when we say power search, will turn right or left 360. But you can save a lot of time if you define your power search window. If I set my instrument in the corner of my job site and I work in a specific area all the time, why having my instrument turn 360 all the time if I'm always in the same direction? So there's one settings. Under settings, the TS instrument and the target search. There's one settings under target search called power search window, and it's turned off by default. So by default, it's 360 degree. But if you decide to activate it, you might see the last window that was used with this instrument. But if you want to define a new window, first you'll need to set your instrument, do your instrument setup, then you go to power search window and you can check the box to define a window. Then you'll press set. You want to set a new window. You'll be prompted to point the instrument. So to do that, it's always better to do it when you're next to the instrument. So you point in the upper left corner, press OK, and then you go into the lower right corner, press OK, and you see here the value. Now it will only turn from 10 to 143 degree. It will never go past 143. So that's my horizontal angle, and I got my vertical angle there. So if I press OK now, and from now on, since you have a power search window, doesn't really matter if you do power search left, right. The instrument will quickly turn to the closest corner of your power search window and will just cover the area of your window. So I do a quick power search, and the instrument, you don't see it now, but it just quick. I'm done now. I can hit cancel, but it just did like a kind of a 90-degree window, and it did not find anything because the prism that are visible right now, they are part of my filter. So it did not find anything. So that's really powerful tool with power search to maximize and speed up the instrument searching the prism. But like you saw, you need to go to setting, TS instrument, target search to turn it off if you want to turn it off. So there's a few clicks to go there. So the way I like to configure my instrument to get here quicker, I like to set a favorite. So on your CS20 controller, there's a favorite star key. So if you press the favorite, you should have the target search. I like to have the target search quickly accessible. I can turn it on, press OK, and now it's on. It will only do that power search within that window. And another good thing about it, if you go back into the target search window, there's a center button. So if for whatever reason you need to work outside of that window, you can turn it off quickly. You can have the instrument search you into another area where it was not covered by the power search window. Once it finds you, you can go back to the target search and you can reactivate it, but this time you'll see those values right there. If we press center, it will update those angular value to center to your current prism location. So now my kind of 90-degree window, it's into a different location on my job site. So if I do power search, it will only search within those angular value. So like you can see, it's pretty easy and quick to turn the instrument, press center, it recenter those values. So that power search window, it's almost a dynamic window that you can move on your site as you're moving around. And at any time, if you have to go outside of that window, just like you can, if you have a shortcut, you can quickly access it turn it off. Now I'm back to the regular 360-degree regular power search. Good. So that cover here pretty much what we had in mind for this short webinar. We wanted to keep it, you know, in the 30-minute. It went a bit more than 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but we don't want to take too much of your time at this time of the day. So I don't know, Brad.
Yep, that's good stuff. We'll yeah, we'll keep these relatively short, and we'll keep doing them so that if you later on you want to, you know, send somebody to watch a video that's, you know, specifically covers the setup app, you know, here it is. And we'll continue to do this with more apps. Thanks, Pierre, very much for doing this. That power search filter and that power search window are really handy on a site where you've got a lot of targets, a lot of prisms, a lot of reflective surfaces, things where your power search might stop. Even if it doesn't lock on, it might stop and look it up and down before it moves along. So I picked up a couple of things myself on the setup app and some of those settings. So thanks very much, everybody, for attending. And we will continue to do this. So keep an eye on your email for the next session. I'll share my screen with you here because these webinars will be available on our website. The first one that we did is up on our YouTube page right now. So we have, as you can see there, a YouTube channel and then our website. And if you have any questions, if there's something that you saw tonight that you just don't understand or you want clarification on, please feel free to call your local MTS rep, Jim or Dave or Stuart, or you can email me or Leica technical support as well. We're all here to answer your questions. So thank you very much, Pierre, and thanks everybody for attending. And I hope to see you all next time. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.